What if I told you that a certain villain of the Legends of Zelda was never truly free? Not free to choose, not free to change, but bound to a fate decided long before he was ever born. Ganondorf. A name that echoes through history, through kingdoms, and through time itself. A name whispered in fear and carved in legend. To some, he's a tyrant, a conqueror, a king consumed by power. To others, he's something far worse. A demon, a force of destruction, the end of everything. But what if that's not the whole story? What if Ganondorf isn't just evil? What if he was never meant to be anything else? Because buried deep within the history of Hyrule, long before castles rose, long before heroes walked the land, there was something much older, ancient, something that refused to disappear. A hatred so powerful that even death couldn't erase it, and that hatred kept returning, again and again and again. Today, we're diving into the legend behind the legend. Not just to understand Ganondorf, but to question him, his motives, and what drives him. Because his story isn't just about power, it's about something far more unsettling. The line between destiny and choice. A man trapped between fate and desire. Between what he is and what he could have been. To understand Ganondorf, we need to go back, far back, to the very beginning, before Hyrule had a king, before there were legends, before anyone even knew his name. We go back to the Legends of Zelda Skyward Sword, to a time when the world was still in chaos, when humanity was forced to dwell in the skies, as the earth below belonged to the demons. This is where we meet Demise. Demise isn't a normal king. He isn't a warlord. He's something older, primordial, something far more dangerous. He is the source of all demons. Everything that threatens Hyrule, everything that brings destruction can be traced back to him. And unlike Ganondorf, Demise doesn't seek power. He doesn't need it. He is power. You see, eons before the events of Skyward Sword, Demise is said to have led an army of demons through a fissure in the earth itself. His goal was to seize the Triforce, known as the ultimate power. This Triforce was created by the Golden Goddesses, Din, Nayru, and Farore, after they created the realm known as Hyrule. A brutal war followed. It raged between Demise and the Guardian of the Triforce, known as Goddess Hylia, and eventually, Demise was sealed away by the goddess. Even without the Triforce, Demise's power was so overwhelming that Hylia could not destroy him. Instead, she was forced to seal him away. A desperate measure rather than a true victory. But the seal was never meant to last. It was only temporary. And when the events of Skyward Sword begin, that ancient conflict rises once again. You might not have known this if you didn't play the game, but in Skyward Sword, both the iconic Master Sword and Demise's sword have a spirit. Fi for the Master Sword, and Girahim for Demise's sword, and the latter tried and succeeded in reviving his master. We won't dive too deep into it, because honestly, I could talk about this series for hours. But eventually, Demise invites our green hero, Link, to a final duel. There's a surprising sense of respect in the way he does it. He acknowledges Link as a fascinating human, someone worthy of standing against him in battle. Rather than attacking recklessly, Demise deliberately creates a space, free from distractions. A quiet, almost sacred arena where the two can focus entirely on the fight ahead. The hero manages to defeat the mice by impaling him with his master sword. And yet, the mice doesn't look defeated. No, instead he warns Link that an incarnation of his pure hatred will be reborn, again and again, keeping the spirit of the hero and the princess in an eternal cycle of war for the Triforce and world domination. This manifestation of pure hatred, the curse he left behind, would come to be known as Ganon, the Demon King, the Calamity, the Destroyer, Ganondorf. It is not explicitly said that Ganondorf is the mice's vessel, but since Ganondorf is in half of the games, I think he is perfect to be a vessel of hatred. He reincarnates again in new forms, new faces, new bodies, but the same hatred. An endless cycle where the princess carries the light, darkness rises to face it, and the hero in green fights every single time. Which means Ganondorf is not the beginning. He is the result of a curse that never meant to end. And if that's true, then maybe Ganondorf was never just a man who chose to become evil, but he was destined to become a vessel for the mice's hatred. As the only male of the Gerudo tribe, Ganondorf was born human, not a demon. But his world was anything but gentle. The scorching heat of the desert by day and the freezing cold by night made survival a constant struggle, shaping both him and his people from the very beginning. It is said that a male Gerudo is born only every 100 years, and when he is destined to become king, the leader and guardian of the tribe. But that raises an unsettling question. Why only every century? It almost feels as if some malevolent force is at work, attempting to recreate the same vessel again and again. Ganondorf was born with power, destined for greatness from the very start. As the only male of his people, he rose to kingship by birthright, becoming an instant legend within the Gerudo. But he was also a child forced to fight for survival every single day. And that kind of life leaves a mark. It teaches you that strength is everything, that power defines your place in the world, and that if you want something, you don't wait, you take it. Often by force, just as we see in his war against King Rauru in Tears of the Kingdom. So the question remains, why would he wage war against the King of Hyrule? Haven't his people already suffered enough, battling the harsh realities of their own land? Is it simply because he's evil? Or is there something more behind it? Well, imagine growing up in a place like that. A desert, where nothing comes easily, where even food and water are daily struggles. Then, imagine looking beyond that hardship and seeing a kingdom filled with life. Green fields, flowing rivers, and a land that flourishes without constant suffering. That kingdom is Hyrule. Ganondorf sees it, watches, and studies it, and slowly begins to desire. But what he wants is not just power. At first, it may be something deeper than that. A better world for his people. A world he himself never had. And in my opinion, that is where the curse of hatred truly takes hold. Because desire like that can lead you down two very different paths. You can build something better, or you can take it by force. Ganondorf always chooses the second path, and that choice changes everything. Because in the end, it is not only the curse that defines him, it is Ganondorf himself, deciding that the world he longed for should belong to him. So now we understand where he comes from. We know about the curse. We know about his past. So what makes Ganondorf evil? Is it the curse or his own decisions? If the mice's hatred lives inside him, then maybe this was always inevitable. Maybe no matter what, he would always become this, a king seeking control, a man driven by power. But then there's the Triforce. It doesn't create desire, it reveals it. Ganondorf doesn't become power-hungry because of it. The Triforce simply amplifies what's already there, and yet, he's not mindless. He plans, he manipulates, he waits. In The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, he gains trust before taking control. Those are choices, which makes the truth more complicated. Ganondorf isn't just a victim, and he isn't just a villain. He's both. A man born into a curse, given power, and still choosing to use it the way he does. And maybe that is what makes him truly dangerous. Up until now, Ganondorf feels like a force, a king driven by power, a man shaped by a curse. But there is one moment in the entire series where everything changes. There's one moment where Ganondorf feels different. In The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Here, he talks about the wind, how it brought life to Hyrule, and how his own home had none of it. The desert was harsh, empty, unforgiving. And then he says something simple. I wanted that wind. Not power, not destruction, just something better. And in that moment, he isn't a monster. He's someone who saw a better world and wanted it. And that feeling is something we understand. Wanting more, wanting something better, wanting a life different from our own. But this is where the tragedy begins, because there are two ways to deal with that feeling. You can build something new, or you can take it. And as for Ganondorf, well, he chose to take it. And from that moment on, his desire turned into conquest. His envy turned into destruction, and his dream became darker. Ganondorf changes across the series. In The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, he's a mastermind, a king who plays the long game. He doesn't rush, he gains trust, he waits until the moment is right, and then he takes everything. This is Ganondorf at his most human, strategic, patient, calculated, a manipulator, greed in human form. Still in Ocarina of Time, though, once he uses the power of the Triforce to amplify himself, he becomes this monstrosity, mindless, only focused on killing, a beast. In The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, he becomes colder, more certain of himself. After surviving the sage's execution, protected by the Triforce of power, there's no hesitation left in him. He grows more dominant, more calculated, manipulating others to serve his will. Using even those close to power, he breaks people, not out of necessity, but because he knows he can. At this point, his goal is no longer to just claim a better world, it's to dominate it, and to sink it into darkness. In The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, he loses himself completely, becoming Calamity Ganon. No thoughts, no voice, no humanity, just chaos and destruction. Pure, uncontrolled hatred. This is what happens when the man disappears, and only the curse remains. But in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, he returns as the Demon King. Mind, power, and hatred. all combined. Not even using the Triforce, but the Secret Stone. He embraces what he is, the Demon King. Across all versions of the series, you can see the shift. From man to ruler to chaos to something beyond human. So my question is, what is Ganondorf? A man who made the wrong choices? Or a vessel that was always going to exist? Because his story isn't just about him. It's a cycle. A hero rises, a princess stands, and somewhere in the shadows, darkness returns. Hatred returned again and again. Maybe he isn't just evil. Maybe he's part of something bigger. A balance between light and darkness. Courage, wisdom, and power. But none of that erases his choices. In the end, he still chose his path. And that is what makes Ganondorf so tragic. Because if he hadn't been bound by the Mises curse, maybe, just maybe, in another life, in another world, he wouldn't have become a villain at all. He might have been a king worth following. Because his story leaves us with a simple question. When you want more, when the world feels unfair, when you're given power, what do you choose? Do you build something better, or do you take it? And that choice is what either creates heroes or villains. If you're still watching, first of all, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. You can leave a like or a sub or both, if that's not too much asked. And tell me your opinion in the comments. Is Ganondorf cursed? Or is it just my imagination? Alright, thank you very much for listening. Have a nice day and enjoy life. Peace!